How's it going, everybody? It's Prod here, and today I'm bringing you guys what might be my final Dark Souls 3 video relating to the new gameplay that was released on March 1st from the event where all these YouTubers and some press people were invited to play Dark Souls 3 for a few hours. And I really don't have anything to talk about anymore. I've talked about a bunch of things, uploaded a decent amount of videos talking about some of those things. If you have anything you would like me to talk about, feel free to leave it in the comment section. I'll consider doing it definitely, because I want to do more videos from this footage, because I feel like there's just so much things I haven't talked about yet, but I can't think of any. But for this video, we're going to be looking over the bosses that people encountered within the first 4 hours of playing Dark Souls 3, where they got invited and stuff. I think there was about 3 bosses and also some enemies that I found interesting and really cool. Obviously, there's going to be spoilers in this video. If you're avoiding gameplay spoilers, no story spoilers here, but gameplay spoilers, there's obviously going to be them. But I'm guessing if you clicked on it, you don't really care. So let's go ahead and start things off. One of the first challenging enemies that you're going to run into when starting Dark Souls 3 is one of these bad boys right here. Now, this is one of the coolest looking enemies that I have honestly seen in all of the Dark Souls games. It looks so awesome, and if you guys remember those tiny little crystal lizards that you've been killing throughout all the Dark Souls games, not thinking twice about it, ripping out their insides and stealing them of their precious gems, well, they're back here again, except this time they're huge. And I love the little explanation that they give of how they become big, like the way this one is. In rare cases, crystal lizards devour souls, growing to monstrous proportions and leaving these great scales. I don't know why whenever I hear that, I just imagine you just dying right in front of these tiny little crystal lizards, and them just having a little snack, a little nibble on your stack of souls. A little bit after your encounter with Mr. Crystal Lizard back there, you run into your very first boss, Ludex Gundyr. A couple of slow swipes later, you're going to be easily chipping at this guy's health because he's fairly easy, he's fairly slow. You're able to just kind of get by him. He is a little bit more difficult from what it seems than a little bit of offhand camera footage that we saw about a month ago from an event they had in Japan where people actually did get to fight this guy. He seems a little bit more difficult than then, but still fairly easily. And I mean, this is a really good player here that you're seeing footage from, but it's one of those things that I feel like most people will still be able to get by him fairly easily. And I also love the musical switch once he turns into this snake otter here. All in all, while not being an incredibly difficult boss fight, usually the first boss fights aren't, they're usually there to kind of get you accustomed to the game again if you haven't played it for a while, or to get you used to some type of mechanic. And I definitely love that this crazy black monster thing, we have no idea what it is at this point, and it looks crazy. I know that it's just going to get even more insane as the bosses in the future go on, but I think this is a pretty solid first boss fight. Moving on to the next area, we expect to run into another boss here in this little church, but it's completely changed from the network playtest. Even here in the video, he's like, where's the dancer of the Frigid Valley? Where is she? But instead of the interactive trigger that we need to start the boss fight, we have an NPC who gives us a little bit of dialogue and tells us to go right into the next room to fight our next boss that we're going to talk about in this video.
But beware, the dog keeps a close eye on things. The vile watchdog of the Boreal Valley.
Vordt of the Boreal Valley. This is our next boss that we run into within the first few hours of playing the game, and this guy here looks incredible, man. His armor looks amazing. I fucking love how his armor looks, and this is a pretty difficult boss, man. It seems like there is a pretty good strategy. Just run under him. That's about it. But later on, it does become a little bit more challenging. I feel like this is definitely going to be a more challenging boss for newcomers, or at least people who are maybe a little bit less experienced than others. Because like I said, you know, the person playing in this video, Oroboro, he is really goddamn good at the game. So obviously, he makes things look easier than they usually are. And if you thought that the first boss's switch in music is good, this one just turns it up a notch. It's just so incredible as well. Even though this boss's movesets become pretty chaotic and unpredictable, and also having the addition of an AoE of Frostbite, I still think this one is a little bit easy as well, especially when it comes to having a little bit of health. I feel like this weapon just does so much damage to these guys. This is like, I don't entirely know if this is an even upgraded longsword, but it does a ton of damage. I definitely hope that in the future these bosses do get maybe a little bit of boost in HP, because I think it's just a little bit too quick when it comes to these bosses. But all in all, this is definitely an amazing boss that I said is going to probably give people a little bit of a challenge once they come across it in the full game. Now that we've gotten past the first two bosses, we're going to look at some of the other enemies. First of all, here we have an invader, Holy Knight Hodrick, and this guy's an asshole, man. He is really tough. I saw a lot of people having problems with this guy because he's pretty difficult. He does, I would say not that much damage actually, but he just has a way of getting around all your goddamn moves. He uses a couple of pyromancies, nothing insane, mainly stuff like warmth, but he is an asshole, especially when it parries, man. You gave him a parry, he gave it right back to you. But, you know, like I said, some people are having problems. This is definitely going to be really fucking cool to fight this guy when the game comes out. And he gets a little bit of help, too, from this piece of shit. Look at this guy, just coming out of nowhere and trying to gank you. But, all in all, he's defeated. Another fairly difficult enemy we have here. I mainly put this guy in here because once defeated, he gives you such a badass weapon, man. Such a cool weapon. Probably the coolest weapon I've seen in any of the Dark Souls games. And I think it was just worth putting him in here just because of that. No real reason to put this enemy in here. Just thought this enemy was super cool, man. Has really cool movesets, really unique, I think. This is one of the most unique enemies that I've seen. Because it's just, like, comes out of nowhere. She just reads the spell and then her body becomes inflamed. And basically her main move is to grab you and try to burn the shit out of your face. And it's not going to feel great inside of that iron armor as well. We have arrived at the final boss of this video. This is a really big tree, but this is going to be one of those moments that completely pays off for the people who stayed 100% free of any type of footage, because you can wonder in here just, oh, there's a bunch of enemies in here, and then all of a sudden this tree comes to life after you kill a couple of them. This is like one of those reasons why I wish that I would have just stayed away from all the footage, but you know, you just can't do it sometimes. This is a really cool, really unique boss because you can't damage him anywhere except these giant hanging eggs. I'm gonna call them eggs because they look totally like balls and they're right there where they should be. But this is, like I said, a super cool, unique boss because this is, I think, I'm not entirely sure, this is one of the first bosses where the stage completely switches up and you go into a completely different area after he slams his ass down. And you fall down into this goddamn pit where you're just trapped in there with him. And now this is where it starts to get difficult because now you know his weakness. Now you know where to hit him, and you're obviously going to go for the easier ones. Not to mention that big fucking scary hand popping right out of his stomach, but you know where to hit him. You know where you're going to get these big damage points. But after doing a certain amount of damage to these that are out there and basically really easy to fucking spot, they blow up and they go away, and then you have to find them, or you can just hit him in his hand. But right there is exactly what will happen if you get too close to that fucking thing. But once they start to dwindle down and you get rid of the obvious ones, all that is left are the ones that are really hard to see, where in this video it gets really close to him dying. He has a tiny little bit of health, and he just cannot find this last egg to hit him in to blow up and kill this boss, because you can only hit him in these eggs, and that's when it becomes a really intense situation. But all in all, man, this boss fight is so goddamn cool. If we get more boss fights in Dark Souls 3 like this boss, where it completely switches up the stage, or there's something where you can only hit him in one unique spot, this will be one of the greatest Dark Souls games of all time. I'm already betting that it will be, but it will be even better, because if there's only this one boss fight where it just switches stages and you're in a completely different area from where you started from, that'll suck, man, because it's such a cool mechanic that I hope they use it more. Overuse it, if anything. Well, I want to say overuse it, but hopefully it's in there a good amount of times. But that is about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know which of these 3 bosses is your favorite, because this one, I think by far, is my favorite from all these guys that have shown up. And like I said, huge thanks to Oroboro for letting me use his gameplay. His link is in the description, obviously. I'm guessing most of you guys are sub to him. But if you want to watch the full uncut footage, if you haven't already, go ahead and watch that. The link is also in the description. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace, everybody.